welcome. Today I want to talk about receiving, and I want to talk about it different than you've probably ever heard it. Perhaps, we'll see. But first I want to share with you how this information came, and then I'll tell you the information. Last year, I had felt called to do a certain type of medicine journey, a 30-minute medicine journey. I felt really, really strongly inspired to do this, so I did it. And during my time on this medicine, I was laying on the bed and I started having some really intense experience. For the first probably 10 to 15 minutes, I felt like I was gonna die. I had things like I could feel my throat starting to swell up, right? And then the panic in me, I could start to feel the panic rising, like, oh no, I'm gonna die, right? And at that point, my guide, one of my guides, started talking and I could hear him pretty clearly. And he just whispered in my ear and he said, Marina, you're trying too hard, just receive. And I went, okay. So I relaxed my whole body and I just let it happen, let my throat do what it's gonna do, and just was present with it. And then that sensation passed, and then something else came in and I felt like I couldn't hardly breathe. And again, I noticed that panic wanting to come up, like, oh no, I'm gonna die. And my angel again said, Marina, you're trying too hard, just receive. And he said this probably, I don't even know, 10, 15 times during the first 10 to 15 minutes of this experience. And I had quite a few different things happen during this few minutes that felt like I was dying. So I got to face death, and I got to some degree, and I got to receive all of whatever was going on and allow it to be exactly as it is. And then the second half of this experience was pure bliss and joy. And my guide told me the same thing. He said, Marina, you're trying too hard. Just receive. Just receive this. And so again, during even the pleasurable things, I would just relax my body and receive it. And I started learning that receiving is such an effortless thing to do. In fact, if you're efforting, chances are you're not receiving. So I journeyed on a little bit after that. I mean, once that journey was complete, then I began to journey with this new information through life, through living, not on plant medicine. And I began to take everything in life, whatever was right here, and receive it the way that I had been taught. Because I was told that probably, 30 times during this 30 minutes, so probably once every minute. I was told this, you're trying too hard, just receive. So I started practicing this in my life and taking it on and practicing with my children and with my husband and with just everything that came up in life, and started practicing it. Well, about the 2-month mark, maybe 3-month mark, I'm not positive, that I had a really, really massively intense experience. And it's a little vulnerable to share this with you, but I'm going to anyway, because I feel like it's such a pivotal moment for me to learn this piece. And that was that my brother was murdered. He was murdered in Mexico, and it was a pretty horrific murder and experience. We almost didn't get his body back. It was just a really big headache, but also just tons and tons and tons of pain. And things weren't very clear around it. The media had got everything screwed up, and the Mexican government was fighting us, and like there was just a lot of stuff that went down. And the first couple of days after I had heard the news, it triggered something that I dealt with a lot in my life, and that is not really wanting to be on a planet where there was so much abuse and so much pain and hurt and humans being so cruel to each other. And I spent a good portion of my life not wanting to be here, and then I spent another good portion of my life learning how to choose to be here. But this experience triggered this desire to leave the planet massively. And I got quite demanding with my guides, with spirit. And my demand was, I want to know the purpose behind abuse. I want to know why it's here, why we have to deal with it. What is the purpose? Because, I believe that there's a purpose behind everything, but this one specifically, I just couldn't quite seem to get past. And of course I was really triggered and I had a lot of trauma going on in my body, and you can imagine. And so for 2 days I was really angry, demanding, didn't want to be here, and was very clear. Either you share with me the purpose of this or I'm done. I'm off this planet. I refuse to live another minute in this BS. So that's where I was. And at the end of the second day, I looked up a friend and I went and sat with her, and I had my husband on one side and my friend on the other side, and they just sat with me while I tuned in intuitively to just receive any information that I could, whatever. And again, my guide showed up and he said, Marina, even if I told you the purpose, you wouldn't understand it because you don't have a paradigm for this yet. And I'm like, okay, I can understand that. I'm human. And then he said, you're supposed to receive this too. And because of what I'd been taught a few months back, I recognized the type of receiving he was telling me I needed to do around this. So I went home, and for 2 days following, every little piece of information that I had, or every little thought that came up, or every little pain that came up, or, I was in a lot of trauma, so my body was shaking and hurting and things like that. And so I was just for 2 days present, super, super present, and kept relaxing my body and receiving it and receiving it and receiving it. So I received the pain, I received the trauma, I received the stories, I received the judgments, I received the anger, I received the sadness, I received all of it. All of it. And after 2 days, another 2 days time, right? So I received for 2 days. Trauma was done. The pain was done. And I moved into this really beautiful place of love. A level of love that I don't know that I had known existed, really. And I'm going to do my best to explain it, but I don't know if it's explainable. I did my best in another video, and I'm going to try again now. And it's something that you got to experience to be able to really fully grasp, but I'm going to do my best. This kind of love is super expansive. It's all-inclusive. It's deep, open, spacious, allowing. It's what I would imagine unconditional love really is, not what we or I have thought for many years. It was all expansive, and it felt like the love was all around me. It was in the very atmosphere that I live in, the breath that I breathe in the trees, in the grass, in the people, in the everything. I could feel this subtle but powerful experience of love. Now this allowed me to come from a different place during funeral, during family gatherings, during places like that. I was able to show up in more of this love place that I'm talking about. And it was really powerful, really powerful. After that, I had 2 more family members pass within a couple of months. And I had one pass before my brother that was murdered. So I had a total of 4 direct family members pass in a matter of 4 months, I believe it was. And my experience of the ones that passed after, it was my dad and a brother that passed after my brother that was murdered. I was able to be in this place of love, and it dynamically changed everything for me. Dynamically. So what I'm bringing this up for, the main reason I'm bringing this up, is to share with you this method of receiving and how powerfully it takes care of issues. How powerfully it can change your life, your mindset, the way you perceive things. So after that experience, and I'm still to this day practicing receiving whatever comes up. And what I'm learning around all of this currently is that when you fully receive whatever's here, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, when you fully receive what's here, your mind has to change. Because if you're going to receive something, you can't be in a state of judgment on it. So if you're receiving something, the judgment vanishes, which allows space to enter. And in that spacious place, everything shifts. Everything shifts. And it shifts with very little, if any, effort on your part. When you face emotion this way, when you face your issues this way, when you face worldwide stuff that's going on, you begin to lose judgment on it. And when that judgment is gone, you end up stepping into this big space of love that I'm talking about. And then you start responding from a place of love instead of judgment, instead of pain, instead of hurt. Doesn't mean you don't feel all those things. It just means you're responding from a different place. And this is what place I like to call, I don't know if I'm saying the words right, but it's like you let love decide. This is what I'm talking about. Love decides what actions come through you. Love decides what gets to change. Now that's on an action level. What about the energetic level? Which I think is really super powerful. Being in a space of love, unconditional love, is a hugely powerful place. Okay, so I'm sure you're all familiar with the quantum field. I'm sure you've heard about the quantum field, but if you haven't or not very familiar with it, in essence, it's the place that, it's the energy that connects all of us and everything together. It's like a web of energy that permeates every single cell of our being, as well as the cells of everything else. It's just this connecting field. And when we as humans choose to consciously either receive or choose to feel love or choose to feel gratitude, or we're consciously entering the realm of love, it's like all the cells of our body are strumming the strings of the quantum field. And as we strum the strings of the quantum field, that frequency goes out and touches everything that we're connected to. Everything. And that frequency begins to change everything it touches to a higher frequency. So if you've ever wanted the world to be more of a place of love and nurturing and support and caring and kindness and peace, then be it. Being it. Choosing to be that. This is why they have the term, be the change you want to see in the world. It's not something that's just spoken, I mean, people speak it lightly, but I don't think the meaning of it behind it is light. I think it's really impactful, very powerful. When we choose to be what it is we're wanting to see in the world, we are strumming the strings of the quantum field and changing the frequency of everything we are connected to. Now, what's going to happen as more and more and more people begin to strum the strings of the quantum field in a place of complete love, unconditional love, effortless love, everything can change. everything can change. And what I was shown with receiving is that this is a doorway. I don't believe it's the only doorway. It is a doorway, a very powerful doorway to drop into acceptance of what is and into the realm of unconditional love. And being that unconditional love changes everything. Thank you for joining me.